All right. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, CB Johns, and we are Pursuing True podcast here in the city of Shreveport, Louisiana. And I want to thank uh, very, very, very powerful people that have came on with me. I think it's very powerful on this pagan holiday that everybody went in to celebrate the sun god. I want to thank Brother Culpepper, Brother Mosley from Chicago, my wife, Sister Johns, and those that are coming on. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. Our subject today will be dealing with maritime and maritime laws. And these laws are very important because we don't have the proclivity to know information about how we came about to come to the Americans and with the ship and everything that brought us over. So before we get started, I want to go ahead on and look at some information, and I want to read from the book of Deuteronomy. Okay, I want to see if I can get that information up here. Give me one moment. Uh, and that's going to be coming from the book of Deuteronomy, which is the book of Devarim, starting at the first, let's see here. This is the 28th chapter of the book of Devarim. I want to start at verse 17. And it says, curses is your basket and your knitting bowls. Curses is the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of your cattle and of the offspring of your flock. Cursed are you when you come in, and cursed when you go out. Send you on your curse. What Jehovah will send you on your curses. The confusion, the rebuke, and all that you put your hands to do until you are destroyed and until you are perished quickly because of the evil of your doing by which you have forsaken me. Make the plague clean, Yahuwah makes the place clean to you until he has consumed you from the land which you are going to possess. All right. It says in verse 22, Yahuwah uh, smites you with wasting diseases, and with inflammation, and with burning, and with the extreme heat, and with the sword, and with blight, and mildew, and they shall pursue you until you perish. Now, because of time's sake, I want to go down a little further. I'm going to keep reading here because it's important for us to understand what predicament and situation that we're in now. So I want to thank those out there. Shalom to my Hebrew brothers and sisters, even my Christian brothers and sisters that are also might be listening. Shalom to you. The scripture says that let's look at verse 29. Let's see. No, verse 28. Let's go there. And Yahweh shall smite you with madness and blindness and bewilderment of heart. And ye shall go grouping at noon as a blind man groups in darkness, and not prosper in your ways. And ye shall be only oppressed and plundered all the days with no one to save you. I want you to hear that very closely. No one can deliver you. Reparation, all these events that's taking place now is because of this curse and because our rebelliousness and disobedience to worship the gods of wood and stone, that things are happening to us, okay? But we're going to get a little deeper in a minute because I have a video I want you to see and pay very close to the video. All right. It says here that verse 30, you become engaged to a wife, but another man lies with her. You build a house, but not to dwell in it. You plant vineyards, but not to use it fruit. Your ox is slaughtered before your eyes, but you do not eat of it. Your donkeys are voluntarily taken before you, and is not given back to you. Your sheep are given to your enemies, with no one to save you. Remember, keep saying the word, no one to save you, no one to deliver you. Your sons and your daughters are given to other people, and your eyes look and fail for all the days long, and your hand powerless, meaning you can't do anything. A people whom you have not known eat the fruit of your land and all your labors, and ye shall be only oppressed and crushed all the days. I want to go a little further. I want to skip down because of time's sake once again. I want to start at verse 46. I'm sorry, verse 45. And all these curses shall come upon you, and they shall pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of your Elohim, or Yahweh Elohim, to guard his commands and his laws, which he command you. And some of you have said that you're not under the law, that you're under grace and truth. So you're finding out what's happening to you in a minute, which is already happening right now. Verse 46 says, and they shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and on your seed forever. This is talking about on our ancestors, and we're the seed of our ancestors. These curses are still here. They have not been broken yet. You are not freed. You are at liberty. Liberty only means that you are temporarily free, but you are still in bondage. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 47 says, because you did not serve Yahweh Elohim with joy and gladness of heart for all the plenty. You shall serve your enemies, whom Yahweh sends against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in need of all. And ye shall put, watch this, and he shall put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Even though in our day and age, there's no physical yoke upon us, yet there's still a yoke upon us. Yahweh brings a nation against you, far afar. So we're in a nation that's far from us, from the ends of the earth, the four corners of the earth. As swift as an eagle, America, and other places, Britain, France, Germany, and other parts of the countries. A nation whose language ye should not understand. We're speaking somebody else's language. A French-looking nation, which shows no regard for the elder, nor show favor to the young. Medicare, Medicaid, you see what's going on right now? And they shall eat the fruit of your livestock and the fruit of your land until you are destroyed. They leave no gain, no new wine, no oil, no increase. Increase of your cattle or your offspring of your flock until they have destroyed you. Now I want to get down to the verse that I really want to talk about here. And this is Isaiah chapter verse 60, starting at verse 62. And you shall be left with few men, although you have become as numerous as the stars of the Shemayim, which is talking about the heaven in Hebrew, because you did not obey the voice of Yahweh Elohim. And it shall be that as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do you good and increase you, so Yahweh rejoices over you to destroy you and lay you waste. And ye shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess. And Yahweh shall scatter you among all people, meaning all nations, from one end of the earth to the other, and there you shall serve other mighty ones, which neither your fathers have known, which is wood and stone, like you went today to worship the false god on a wooden cross and stone. You did that today, rebellious Israelites who are Christians that you don't know that you are. Verse 65, and among those nations, those people, you are to find no rest. We haven't had any rest, nor have a resting place for the soles of your feet. But, it's a conjunction, there Yahweh shall give you a trembling heart and falling eyes and sorrow of beings. Verse 66 says, and your life shall be hanging in suspense before you, and you shall fear day and night and not be certain of your life. Verse 67, in the morning you say, oh, that it were evening. And at evening you say, oh, that it was morning, because the fear of your heart, with which your fear because of the sight which your eyes see. And Yahweh shall bring you back again to Mizraim, which is Egypt, in ships, by way of which I said to you, you are never to see again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one to buy you, no one to save you. So I have a video that I want us to look at from a renowned author by the name of Jordan Maxwell, which some of you don't believe in because you don't read books, some of you don't study, you don't look at other opportunities to research things. But the Most High God gave me this revelation from the book of Ezekiel chapter 28, on what Brother Maxwell was talking about the ship, about us being birthed in the ship, and this is how we got here. And we're nothing but stock, we're nothing but commerce. Okay, so I'm not gonna delay the video. We're gonna go right into the video. Do anyone have any questions at this particular time? Anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself if you do. I would like participation on this video. Thank you so much.
Back in the Roman Empire, it was basically stated in ancient Rome that there were only two things on the earth, land and water. And therefore there were two kinds of law to be established on this earth, the law of the land and the law of water. Brilliant. That's all there is land or water. So the law of the land, and people have heard that term, the law of the land. But you don't realize when you use the term law of the land, it's to differentiate between the law of the land as opposed to the law of the sea, the law of the ocean. That's why you use that term law of the land, because there's another law that dominates the earth. It's called the law of the ocean, the law of the sea. The law of the land is obviously the law of the people who live on a particular piece of land. As many countries as there are, or as many cities as there are, that's how many laws of the land there is, because the law of the land is different in South Africa than it is in America. You can do things in China you cannot do in Egypt. You can do things in America you can't do in Australia because of the law of the land. The land is where the people live, so it's the law of the custom of the people who live on that particular piece of land. They have decided for themselves what their customs will be. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So if you're going to go to Australia, you're going to go to South Africa, you're going to go to Egypt, you better learn what they can do and what they can't do. And if you don't like it, then you go back home where you can do what you want to do. But if you're in somebody else's country, you have to abide by their custom, the law of the land. Now, there is another law called the law of the sea, the law of the ocean. That is the banking law, because you can get a credit card in America and go to China and live pretty well and go vacation. Or you can get a credit card in Africa, in South Africa, and go to China on vacation and eat very well and live very well and go on a vacation. Why? Because it doesn't have anything to do with the custom of the people. We're talking money.
I'm going to show you guys how you can figure out what's the matter with your car, all on your own, without relying on a mechanic. You see, a lot of times I find...
Period. It's just money. One law of the sea, water. So we say in America, money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water. Maritime Admiralty Law of England. The law of the sea is the law of banking. Banking law is referred to as the law of the sea. Therefore, let me explain to you. When a ship pulls into harbor, we may have talked about this before, but it's important, so we need to hear it again. When a ship pulls into harbor, first of all, you need to understand, according to international law, all ships are female. There is no such a thing as a male ship. All ships by law are female. That's why you will hear captains say, she's a good ship, and she's been seaworthy, she's this and she's that. All captains will refer to their ship. Rocket ship, sailing ship, doesn't matter what kind of airship, the captain calls his plane she. She's a good ship, she's seaworthy. Why? Because all ships by law are considered female. Reason why? Because all ships, any kind of a ship, delivers a product. And so the idea goes back into the ancient world of Samaria, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, where the idea was the male manufactures, but the female produces the product. So therefore, we humans were manufactured. but your mother was in labor and in the delivery room because she was building a product
And giving birth.
and giving birth to a product. There
This is a prophetic scene here. When our ancestors came over on ships, we entered into another law, another dispensation called Maritime and Admiraltime Laws. This was the punishment. This was the curse that was put upon us. So listen to what this man is telling us. Follow it. Deuteronomy chapter 28 is breaking it down. We just need to look at the prophetic side of it.
before, when a ship pulls into harbor, she parks at the dock. And where she parks at the dock, she ties off a rope onto the dock to hold her in her berth. Every item coming off of that ship from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. We're talking business. We're talking banking. Any item on that ship coming off that ship must have something called a certificate of manifest. Because yesterday the ship wasn't here. But today we come to work and there's a ship here from Japan or from China with $800 million worth of televisions or whatever. So it has manifested. $800 million worth of business is waiting for you at the dock. So therefore, every item coming off that ship, because it's manifested, must have what is called a certificate of manifest. Meaning every piece coming out that ship has to be accounted for. How much does it weigh? What color was it? Does it have 4 doors, 2 doors? Air conditioning? No. What color? And so every item coming off the ship must have its own certificate of manifest. Why? Because it was brought in, she brought it in on water, and she is in her berth. So therefore, each item has to have what is called a birth certificate. A certificate of manifest, because she is sitting in her berth, B-E-R-T-H, a birth certificate. Therefore, when your mother gave birth to you, you came down her birth canal when her water broke. And therefore, you come out into the world as a maritime admiralty product. You came out of water down the canal. Therefore, you have to have a birth certificate. A certificate of manifest, because last night you weren't here. This morning you're here. You manifested. So we got to know, how much did you weigh? The hospital has to say how much you weigh. What color was he? Did he have 5 fingers? Yes. Why? Because you are considered a maritime admiralty product, because she was in labor building you.
And this is why President Trump is making ID so important now, because they're always using maritime laws. People, please wake up. Everything is real in front of us. We're just sleeping and have not awakened to the truth yet.
After your father manufactured. So once you begin to see how the commercial world works, you are nothing more than a product, a maritime admiralty product, to be bought and sold, and therefore you have to have a birth certificate. Now, if you're taking one of those cars or TVs off of the ship and it drops down accidentally and breaks, you just lost money. You can't sell that one and make any money off of it. That's okay. Things like that happen. Okay? And there's no problem with that in commerce. If you break something, it's no problem. We take that off of our taxes. It was a loss. But you have to have a death certificate. And it's got to be signed by the dock. Why? Because that's what the damn thing fell and broke, was at the dock. So the dock has to sign your birth certificate. And if you die there, then he has to sign your death certificate. And we better make sure that the doctor is not lying about the death certificate. Because if you're lying about the death certificate, that's prison time for a doctor. You don't want to lie. Did this person, was he born dead? Yes. Prove it.
I thought this viral pressure nozzle was another cleaning scam. 3 months later, I haven't touched my $400 pressure washer once. They're called Aquoxis, and they're nothing like those weak spray nozzles you've tried before. This thing multiplies your garden hose pressure by 15 times without using a single drop of electricity. Seriously. You twist it on, turn the water, and watch years of grime blast away in seconds. It's like
Sign the paper and put your life on the line as a doctor and tell me that this person died at birth. And if we find out you're lying, because now he doesn't have to pay taxes, he doesn't have to be under government control, he's totally free because we don't know anything about him, and we find out you're lying, that's a felony for doctors. You go to jail for that. So therefore, doctors will have to sign your birth certificate. They have to sign your death certificate. Why? Because you are a Maritime Admiralty product. Your mother created you. After you were manufactured, you were created, and she was in her labor. She was in labor in the delivery room because she was delivering you as a product. And that's why in your birth certificate on the bottom, on the right-hand bottom of the birth certificate where your mother or father signed, look at it. Look on the birth certificate. It doesn't say mother or father. It doesn't say parent. Where your mother and father signed, it says informant. Your mother and father was informing the corporation that the new television has just arrived in America, or a new car, a new automobile has just arrived that you didn't know about. So it's called an informant. Now, on the left side of your birth certificate, on the very bottom, you will see in small print, the birth certificate is the property of the United States Commerce Department, Department of Commerce. Why? It's because your birth certificate is a commercial document. It's on actual banking paper. It's on banking paper. It's considered a stock, just like a stock certificate. So once you understand that you are, that's why if you say, if your son's getting married or your daughter's getting married and she's marrying a very wealthy, marrying into an extremely wealthy family, we say, well, her fiance she's marrying, he's of good stock. What do you mean? She's marrying a pig or marrying a horse? No, because all humans are considered stock. That's why if you're going to, it's a
Hey, do anybody have anything to say about this?
Well, I see how they take, I was thinking they kind of did a reversal. Uh, they took maritime law and actually applied it to countries and constitutional law to get more control out of us, just by using the words of the ocean, of the sea. With birth, with BERTH, and with BIRTH, which is clever because it traps us.
Well, and that was but that was set up way before America uh, was established. I mean, maritime law was there um, from the beginning of time. Anytime you had commerce, you had trade. That was there. You have to, anything you do, you had a bills of lading. You had to know any kind of commerce that was moved, you had to keep track of it. So um, livestock and everything else. So that was there for everything, including human beings.
Yes, yes,
That was a system that was established from the beginning.
yeah.
And
Because
so we were livestock when we were transported, no matter where we went, from
yeah, but
country to country or overseas to here.
yeah,
That
because
same law was established.
online we consider common law, but they found a way to connect it to international law and maritime law.
Correct. Correct.
So
Correct.
my question is that my question, not, well, really, it's not a question, but as we look at this, we're seeing Deuteronomy chapter 28, uh, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and in particular verse 68, how this is coinciding together. The prophetic, the curse that has been released upon us, and you brothers are so well true about what you're saying. But do you guys see how the Most High God prophesied to us and told us because of our rejection of Him? And because of what
Yeah,
we did, we will come under this new system, this new law, this beast system. Y'all follow what I'm saying here?
yeah, we will be bought and sold, but nobody will buy us.
And we fall in a way we kind of fall under maritime law, being brought across the ocean, the
That's
seas.
exactly what it is. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
Mhm.
we fall under a whole different jurisdiction, and it's maritime. It has nothing to do with common law, with constitutional law.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so the ship represents on two parts of it, us leaving to be birthed out of a ship, out of the canal of the ship into another era, another time, which is like y'all said again, maritime laws. Okay, this is where we at. If you notice on the picture, there's a ship, but there's a whole lot of bodies, skeletons out here, and that's some of our that would be like our ancestors, the one that didn't want to be incarcerated or didn't want to be under punishment or whatever. They jumped aboard, and some of them just committed suicide because they didn't want to go through that crucial treatment that they were having experiencing. Okay, and some of us under uh, the bottom of the ship, the hull of the ship, and died and diseases came about. So I mean, this is awesome here that the scriptures is fulfilling itself in the book of Proverbs. I'm sorry, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Anybody else got anything else to say?
Yeah, I mean, for those of us that don't realize it, that's why, we were shipped on the ship of Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. There's a ship called Jesus. That's right. They were and they had to worship. Had to worship him at least 3 times a week. And if they didn't if they didn't agree to worship or fellowship, they were beaten or cast overboard
Hmm? Yep.
under that name.
An incredible story about how we are maritime admiralty stock. We are like a stockyard. That's why all, when we were growing up as kids in America, all houses and homes always had a yard, a front yard and a backyard. That's for your children to play in because it was a stockyard. And we still have stockyards today. That's why you're creating a product for the commercial world that we live in. And so to protect the product, you give them a backyard to play in.
Now this is why a certain group of people decided that we was animals or we wasn't fit to be anything. All
Yeah,
of this is under maritime law because of this. But our people are so naive and so blatant. Just I don't want to use a word of stupidity or whatever like that, but ignorant is the word I can use that word because that's not really derogative. But refuse to find out the truth because they don't want to know the truth. Brother, you were saying something. Go ahead.
yeah, Brother Jones. I just wanted to add on because I thought about it after we had spoken. We were actually shipped over here as goods. We were not considered human beings.
Yes.
And that ties a lot into how we're being treated even today.
Yeah, because we're still under maritime law, but our people don't
Yes.
understand it. They think that they free. And they go look up the definition of the etymology of the word freedom and liberty. They do not mean the same thing. And this is why we as a black and brown people or without excuse because we're lazy, we don't want to go read, we don't want to go study, and so that's why the situation that we find ourselves in is because we are following right along. You are following right along one of the curses. And I thank God so much today that I have been set. I have liberty to see what's happening here. And I know you brothers too that's on here, my wife, have the liberty. But there are others they worship, and it's some today they went and worship the God of wood and stone today, you know, because they're pagan worshipers. You worship the pagan gods, the sun god Amun Ra. I don't want to go off into no teaching here, but let's continue on. This is,
We
you know,
still considered livestock.
Yeah. And I like to just point out for those who don't know, liberty is when you're given certain rights to do things. Freedom is when you have the God given, the most highest right. to live as a free person, a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me break it down a little bit more. Can I? Freedom. Okay, let me start with liberty first. Liberty is when you are free to go somewhere, but you have to return back to bondage
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yes,
When
sir.
you are free, that means you're not under liberty. You're free to go, never to return again.
Yes. Well, I didn't explain it exactly right, but with liberty, it's under conditions. Freedom isn't. If I
You
got
did a
it
good
right.
job. You did it right. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did good, brother. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So it's called a stockyard.
So as soon as we're born, we are signed over to the United States or whatever country we live in.
That's right.
To our government.
That's right. And they own your body.
Are we signed over to the government or the country?
Well, the government is the country. The government.
So the United States of America, let's say?
No, not to the United States of America. No, you're signed over when you're born here in this country. You're signed over to the United States, not the United States of America. There's a world of difference between the sun and the moon.
He's going to explain the difference between the United States and the United States of America, because some of you don't understand that we're not under the right constitution. Carry on.
Between wet and dry, between up and down.
Right.
Opposites. Well, there's a
Oh my goodness. The person who invented this thing is simply a genius because you only
big difference between United States or United States of America. Doesn't mean the same thing at all. United States of America is one thing. United States is totally different than the United States of America. That's the point that most people don't know anything about. So when you use the term United States, you're not talking about the United States of America, the 50 collective 50 states in the federal union. United States is not the 50 states. United States is a totally different entity completely.
No.
United States of America was founded in 1776 as a constitutional republic, but that was done away with in 1871. We're no longer living in the United States of America. As of 1871, we are now living in something called the United States. This is why once a year, United States is considered not a country. United States of America is a country. It's a confederation of states, which we call the federal enclave, the federal states, the federal republic. But United States by itself is a company, is a corporation, incorporated in 1871. A group of men got together after the Civil War and incorporated a company.
In Delaware.
Well, anyone can form a corporation. Anybody.
So we could have done it.
You can form a corporation. But if you form a corporation, then you are now under corporate law. You can't do certain things you could do as an individual. Now you're a corporation. But, of course, you get certain perks as a corporation, too. So there's some good and there's some bad. There's some up and there's some down. Now, certain things you can do now as a corporation you couldn't do as by yourself. So corporation is a business. Well, anybody can form a corporation, but if you form a corporation, as I said, you're under corporate law, which means the first thing right off the bat is that you have to have, according to corporate law, a president of the corporation. You also have to have, according to the law, a vice president of the corporation, and you also have to have a secretary-treasurer. At least those three things you have to have if you're going to have a corporation. So today we have a president, we have a vice president, we have a secretary-treasurer of a corporation, a privately owned company, a corporation. And the corporation was incorporated in Delaware in 1871. As a privately owned company, 1871 corporation incorporated called United States Corporation. Has nothing to do whatsoever with the United States of America, founded in 1776. No, nothing to do with that at all. Privately owned corporation called United States Corporation, incorporated in 1871. It is now considered to be a corporation. Okay, now the point being is that according to the corporate law, anyone who would work for that corporation would be referred to as a citizen of that corporation. So today, if you walk into any business in America and you say, and they ask you in the bank or ask you if you're applying for a job or anything, they ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? And you say, yes, I'm a U.S. citizen. You think what they're asking you, and a good attorney, a federal attorney, would tell you in court, I'm going to ask you a question. But before you answer, think about what I'm going to ask you. The judge is listening, the court's listening, and this is all on the oath. I'm going to ask you a question. Be careful what you answer, the way you answer. Are you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, testifying that you are a U.S. citizen? Now, don't answer until you think about it, because whatever you say, you can go to prison. So are you a U.S. citizen? And you say, well, what he's asking me is, am I lawful and legal to be in America? Yes, I'm a U.S. citizen. Good. Now you're going to jail because you no longer have any rights or protections under law, because a U.S. citizen is an employee of a privately owned company. You have no jurisdiction. There's no jurisdiction to protect you under the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. That's an American, not a U.S. citizen. So therefore, there's a world of difference between a United States citizen and an American United States of America. Because the United States of America, there was no U.S. citizenship. There was state citizenships. You were a citizen of the state in which you were living. That's why today, in 1871, after the Civil War, there was a privately owned company established called United States Corporation. And in that, they stipulated that anyone who would work for that corporation that was founded as a company, corporation, would be called a citizen. So today, if someone says, are you a U.S. citizen? And you say yes, what that means is that you have testified with your own, out of your own mouth, that you are an employee of a foreign corporation, because it's foreign to any state, because a United States corporation is not in any one of the states. So it's a foreign corporation. It's a place called Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. is not one of the states of America. So therefore, it's a foreign corporation. It's in a particular area called District of Columbia.
Notice what he said, a foreign. The Most High God said, I'm going to send you to a foreign country. And this is why when the children have been taken away from their parents, called the state, being released over to the state, this is exactly what's going on here, people. Okay? Because you have been awarded of the states.
District of Columbia is not a state. District of Columbia is an whole as 10 miles square where the corporation operates from. But it's not in Maryland, it's not in Virginia, it's not in New York. It's a whole area that has its own flag, its own laws, its own jurisdiction, has nothing to do with the 50 states of the Union.
And people don't realize that. They don't even have their own congressional seat. They don't have their own senatorial seat.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello.
It's its own little entity.
Well, I got a lot of questions. First of all, who was the first president of the United States Corporation?
Oh, well, yeah.
Google May 1871 president.
So the point being is that today, if you say that you are a U.S. citizen, what you are saying in law, in any courtroom, what you're saying is that you are an employee of a foreign corporation. Foreign corporations are perfectly fine in any state. You know, all kinds of countries have corporations in America. And California, we're filled with corporations from all over the world. Corporations from automobile companies. Japan has corporations here. Africa has corporations. It's all right. That's fine. It's just business. As long as you remember that California's boss and you pay up front. And you have to tell California how much your corporation's buying and selling, and you have to pay taxes from your corporation. But as long as you're doing the business of the corporation, you can operate anywhere. As long as you pay your dues, as long as you pay your taxes. The corporation called United States is operating in a place called Washington, D.C., which is not a part of America. It has its own flag, the Washington, D.C. flag, which has its own jurisdiction, its own police department. It has nothing to do with the 50 states of the Union at all. So what it amounts to is, if you want to try and understand it this way, if you have a building, if you have a, what do they call them, condos, if you have a condominium building with condos and there's 50 condos in the building, or 51 units in the building, well, 50 of those units are sold to individuals. All right, the people who buy those 50 condos, they own their condo. They are not renting, they own it. Therefore, you have no jurisdiction over that condo. They own that condo. Therefore, the condo unit, all 50 people agree that somebody needs to be responsible for running this 50-unit building. Somebody's got to make sure the trash gets taken out, the pool gets clean, to clean the yards, and if there's any breakdown or any problem with plumbing, somebody's got to be responsible in this building for the building. So we will all pay a little bit of money every month. Every condo pays a little bit, and we will appoint somebody to be in charge of maintenance for the building. And he's responsible to make sure that the trash is picked up, the pool is cleaned up, and if there's any problem with the electrical or plumbing or anything, he's responsible. And we all pay him, and he's responsible to make sure everything works right. So therefore, that would be Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is like a separate entity. It has nothing to do with all the condos. That's their business. They own it.
He's the property manager.
He's just property manager. That's all he's doing. And therefore, he's paid by them to work for them. Well, what it turns out to be, after a while, the guy who is the property manager, who's being paid by those 50 different condo owners, he begins to think of himself not as a property manager, he's God. He could do anything. He's in charge of the building, he's in charge of the pool, he's in charge of trash. That means he's actually God. He's in charge of everything. So now he can go in and walk into your condo anytime he wants because he's in charge. And he can tell you what color you can paint your walls. He can tell you how many people you can have over as guests. He can tell you anything he wants because he is God. He's been elected, and he's the boss of all bosses. Well, that's what's happened. Today, Washington, D.C. thinks it's God. It's based on the old Roman idea of the concept of Caesar, being Augustus or Tiberius Caesar, is God. And therefore, the Washington, D.C., as I said, before the country was founded, was called Rome. And the Capitol building is identically based off of the Vatican Domus. And so what we've got now is the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire, go back into history and look and ask the question in history. Go back to the reference books on the Roman Empire and find out, where did Caesar rule Rome from? Caesar was emperor of Rome, and Rome dominated all of Europe. Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Caesar dominated Rome, and Rome dominated Europe. And so therefore, where did Caesar rule Rome from? He ruled Rome from, Rome is called the city of seven hills. And he ruled Rome from something called Capitoline Hill, which was actually Capitol Hill. That's in Roman history. So Caesar ruled the empire from Capitol Hill. And it was said in history books that where Caesar each morning, quote, the reference book says, quote, he would go up on the hill, end quote, to officiate as Caesar before the Roman Senate. So therefore, Rome had a Senate. Where? Up on the hill. What hill? Capitol Hill.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar? And so today we still have Caesar, who believes himself to be God, incarnated Jehovah. He is absolute God over the entire Roman Empire. So all people must come and bow down to Caesar. Bow down and sprinkle incense on the altar of Caesar, because he represents Jehovah God. He represents the almighty God of the universe. He is the emperor of the world. I'm just saying that today, the President of the United States is considered to be the emperor of the universe. All people should bow down and sing praises to him and sing and beat themselves with sackcloth and ashes and be aware that he represents God. He is the absolute authority over everything. So all of this nonsense about America being the land of the free and the home of the brave, that went out in 1871. It's gone. From here on out, you're under the Roman dictatorship out of Vatican Rome, and that's why today, when the Pope comes here to America, you see George Bush running out and kissing the ring. All the politicians, left and right-wing politicians, communists, Nazis, fascists, doesn't matter who they are, they all ran out and kissed the Pope's ring because America is the new Rome.
I just looked it up, and Ulysses S. Grant was president in 1871.
Yep, there you go. So what is going on here today is not against the Constitution. It's not against the Declaration of Independence. It's not against the law. If you go to work at Sears or General Motors or any corporation, they tell you when you can go to work. You show up here at 7 o'clock, not 7:10, 7 o'clock. You take a break at 10 o'clock. You take another break at 3, and you're not asking questions. We're telling you. And here's what you're going to do. Here's the job you're going to be assigned to. Now, do you want the job or don't you? If you don't like it, that's all right. Hit the street. We'll get somebody who does want it. So the point being is that what General Motors is doing to you, telling you when you can come in, when you can go home, when you can take a break, you ask permission. If you want to go to the bathroom, if you want to take a break, you ask permission. You don't just get up and walk off the job. So the point being is that they own you for that 8 hours or 9 hours you're at work. They own you. You live by their rules. As long as you're inside that corporation working, they're the boss, not you. So, therefore, if you say you're a U.S. citizen, you are in...
This records conversations better than taking notes ever could. This is Pocket, an AI note taker that...
fact, an employee of a foreign corporation that was in Washington, D.C., and therefore, it is not unlawful what they're doing. It's not illegal what they're doing. You are an employee. It's a very clever manipulation of an exploitation and a manipulation of a circumstance that happened because of the Civil War. After the Civil War, here's what I am told by people who know. I am not an authority on this subject. I have said over and over, I'm not an authority on any subject. What I bring to the table is the fact that I've been in the company of extraordinarily brilliant people for the last 40 years or 45 years of my life. I've been in the company of incredibly intelligent people doing extraordinarily brilliant things. And I've listened to the teachers. I've listened to Jesuit scholars, to politicians, to statesmen, to royalty of Europe. I've been in the company of impressive people, just listening. I'm not the authority on anything. I'm just telling you what I've heard from experts. When you understand that there's a world of difference between the United States of America that was founded in 1776 as a republic, as opposed to after the republic was destroyed, there was a civil war where one half of this country was killing the other half. Well, you got to understand, if you found out that Sears had a riot in Sears and one half the employees killed the other half, that's very serious. That's bloodshed. So you got to realize Sears is never going to be the same again. There ain't never going to be the same Sears we all knew and loved. It's gone. Because after that kind of a riotous bloodshed, the whole thing is going to have to be changed. We got a whole new system of operation now because the old system, the old company is gone. We got a whole new system. Why? Because the people were killing people. So the original United States of America is gone. It's over. Therefore, to say that you have, go into court and you say, well, I have certain protections. I have the Bill of Rights and I have the Constitution. There is no such a thing as a United States Constitution for a U.S. citizen. U.S. citizen means employee of a privately owned company established in 1871, okay? Employee of a privately owned company established 1871. Therefore, you are not an American national. You are a U.S. citizen. And when you go to the post office to get the paperwork for a passport, there are two papers that you can fill out. One is white and one's green. And on the green one, I am told by attorneys that on the green one they've showed me that it says if you are applying for a passport, but you don't want to continue to be a member of the corporation, you want to separate yourself from the United States Corporation, incorporated in 1871, then you need to sign this green paper, and then you will get a passport for an American national, not a U.S. citizen.
And I've seen the passports. There's a blue, which most people carry, which is the U.S. citizen, and then there's the American passport, which is green. And that's actually a lot of diplomats carry the green passport.
That's right. Because there's a world of difference between being a U.S. citizen and being an American national. American national, as a matter of fact, my friend Joe is a brilliant mind, government and law. Is an extraordinarily brilliant guy. But he was showing me letters where he was dealing with the Internal Revenue. And he showed me the letters where the Internal Revenue said, I'm paraphrasing what was in the letters. Basically, they said to him, the Internal Revenue said to Joe, if you're going to deal with the corporation called United States Corporation, then you deal directly with us, the Internal Revenue and the Federal Reserve. But if you're going to deal with the state of California as a California state citizen, then you're dealing with the Republic, which is founded in 1776, which has nothing to do with us at all. So if that's what you're doing as a state citizen, you are talking to us about taxes, you're talking to the wrong people. We don't have any jurisdiction over you. You need to talk to the government of the United States of America, which is in Philadelphia. Here's their phone number, here's their address, and here's where the United States of America's government actually is in Philadelphia. But if you want to deal with us as a privately owned corporation called United States, now we are in Washington, D.C. It's called the Internal Revenue. Internal Revenue, why? Because the corporation is like General Motors. And anyone who works at General Motors, Ford Motor Company, or any big corporation, anybody working inside that corporation is internal. Internal. So General Motors does not have anything to do with people outside who work for Baskin-Robbins. They don't have any control over anybody except in their General Motors. They have control over. Therefore, the corporation called United States only has jurisdiction over those people who are their employees. That's why they have an internal revenue service. Not external for everybody. No, not everybody. Just those people who work for the corporation come under internal revenue.
Which in this case is almost everybody.
Just about everybody. Internal revenue, which means just about everybody is a member of a corporation.
That's right.
And therefore the corporation is perfectly right in telling you what you can do and what you can't do. And they said you can't have a house without coming to me and asking permission. Don't you see there's a difference between the Statue of Liberty? You see in New York a thing called Statue of Liberty? What do you think that means, son? You better go back to school. That's not the Statue of Freedom for America. That was given to the corporation, United States Corporation. It was given to the corporation. It's called the Statue of Liberty, not the Statue of Freedom. Statue of Liberty. The word liberty in a law book means you ask permission. If you want to take the car and borrow my car, you ask permission. You don't have liberty to just walk in and take somebody's property. You ask permission. And if I say no, that means you can't borrow. So therefore, you ask permission, then if I say yes, I'm giving you liberty. Liberty is what a sailor gets when he comes in off the ship at sea. He comes into a harbor. He asks permission of the captain to let him go for 2 days and have drinking and partying, right? If the captain says no, then you're not going anywhere. Why? Because the captain is the boss. And if he says no, you go nowhere. Why? Simple. When you're in the Navy, you are his property. You do not have freedom. You get liberty. You ask permission, and if your father says so, you can go. And when he tells you to be back at 10 o'clock, he didn't say 10:30. You show up 10 minutes late, and you're in the brig. You're going to jail. Because the old man said 10 o'clock, and you showed up at 10:30 drinking, you're going to jail. Because he gave you liberty up to 10 o'clock. He didn't give you liberty to 10:30.
He didn't give you freedom.
He didn't give you freedom. He gave you.
For those of us that served in the military or any parts of government, know about the liberty, okay, that we were not given freedom to leave. That's why when you join the United States of America, whatever branch of service, it is a corporation. And this is what our people are not understanding about the laws of the land and the law of the sea. Do anybody have any questions?
Yeah, that's why they call it United States of America and United States military. But something else I noticed in there, Washington, D.C. falls under maritime law. That's why they're able to do so much and get away with so many things, because they don't they don't fall under jurisdiction of the United States of America law.
That's why we under two different constitutions.
Yeah.
We're under two different ones.
Yeah.
And so that's what we don't understand. We look at the Constitution and think that it covers everybody, and it does not. We under two different constitutions here.
I tell you what, I'm going to look up some more information on this. I know at one time years ago, I was interested in the Moors, and this was some knowledge that they had as far as the rules and regulations with the United States of America and United States. But I'm sitting here myself, and brother, I thank you, brother Johns. I'm telling you, you have opened up a can that I have to dig deep into, and I hope a lot of other people do the same thing.
Well, we're gonna give our praises to the Most High God, because this is a year of this is the age, not the Pisces age anymore, but we're in the age of Aquarius now, the age of knowledge, right? And this is why I have spoke with my Hebrew brothers and Christian brothers who I love, trying to get them to understand that you are under a different law. You're in a different law. You're not under a sovereign law. That's why you can't do a Sabbath day in a land that has not been given by the Most High God, because we're in a foreign country. You cannot do any of the feast days because you are not in a sovereign land. We are under a dictator. We're under Roman laws. That's what we're under. Okay. Can someone read this for me right here?
Maritime Admiralty law. The law of the water, rather than the law of the land, common law. His presentations argue that people are treated as commercial cargo under international banking and maritime jurisdiction. Core principles of Jordan Maxwell's teaching. Law of the land versus law of the sea. Maxwell argued that Roman law and subsequently English law established a distinction between the law of the land, local territorial law, and law of the water, I guess. Yeah, water. Admiralty commercial law. Modern society operates under the latter, which is a global system of banking and finance. Money is like water. Maxwell taught that scroll up, please, that current currency is equivalent to water/sea.
Maritime commerce. Money is likened to water flowing under this legal system, and those in power control this flow birth. Certificates, SDC. When a person is born, they come out of their mother's water, which is why a birth certificate is issued. Similar to a ship having a birth, BERTH certificate to dock in the water. This suggests humans are treated as commercial cargo ships on the sea, of commerce terminology and word magic. He highlighted the connection between maritime and legal jargon ship, similar to citizens, people being shipped, birth, B-E-R-T-H, and birth, B-I-R-T-H, the place where a ship, a person, is docked, certificate of manifest, documentation for cargo drivers, license, license.
Okay, hold on right there. Okay, let's look at this right quick. What does DC stands for?
District of Columbia.
Right. Is that a state?
No, no, it's not.
Absolutely. See, this is what we got
Washington,
to.
D.C. is not a state, and they tried to make it one, but they can't do it. It'll never happen. As
Where's
long as
our government? Where's our government? Very good. Where's our government headquarters located, though?
our government headquarters is in Philadelphia.
No, where is our
No,
government headquarters located at? Where's the White House located at?
D.C.
Okay. Where's DC? Is DC a state?
No,
Okay. So now let's go back. This is very important. This is very important. That's why he said, I will send you to a foreign what? Country.
land, foreign land.
There's a difference between the United States of America and the United States of the in America, South America, North America. Okay.
Yeah.
But watch this right here. But it says, watch this. It says this suggested that humans are treated as commercial cargo. Now, not just human. Now, this is us coming over doing the transatlantic slave on a ship. All right. On a ship, and we know what the ship is considered as being a female, right? Being birthed into a maritime admiralty time law.
Yes.
We are nothing but cargo. That's exactly what they see us as cargo. And not only just the black American, but all white people now, because notice what our president is doing. They might take this off. This probably won't be on long here because this is too much information. As long as ain't nobody shaking their butts and killing nobody going on, they'll let this stuff step all along. But if you tell them bringing truth to people, they want it all. They don't want us to wake up.
Of course not.
They don't want us to wake up. Go ahead, my brother, right here.
Ship, the place where a ship person is docked, certificate of manifest, documentation for cargo drivers, license and license, the right to operate a vessel. The Queen Vatican Authority, Maxwell claimed that the law of the sea is ultimately governed by international banking and commercial entities. Example, British Crown Vatican, which set the rules for commerce.
Hold on. Now, do we know when we say which sets the rules for commerce? Who's the commerce? We are. We are the commerce.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Under Maritime Admiralty Law, the law of water or commercial law, rather than common law, the law of the land. He argued that through word magic, birth certificates, and financial systems, citizens are treated as ships, cargo, effectively making them legally dead and subject to bankers and bar attorneys.
This is why that you and I, black and brown people, just can't go out in the bank. And even if our credit scores are up to par, we still could be turned down.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. We come over here as cargo. We didn't come here as humans. We came here as cargo on ships.
But even though when we borrow money or anything like that, we're not borrowing from the bank. We were actually borrowing our own money.
Oh, that's good, that brother. Absolutely.
We've earned that money and we've earned interest on that money.
Yes.
But the system has it where when we try to borrow, when we try to buy whatever we buy, we don't know, we don't realize that we borrowing from our own money,
That's
and the
right.
banks is making money off it because that's part of the system.
And if I can add on to what you just said, Brother Caldwell, I might not be clear on it, and I hope I stand corrected, and someone can chime in and help me out with this. But you can call the IRS and tell them the money they have already made off you can pay your taxes. It doesn't always work, but they already made money off you from the day you were born.
Correct.
That's right. That's right.
Correct.
That's right. And think about this too. Think about bank on the dock of the what? The ships comes in on the dock of the what?
Bank.
Of the dock of the bank.
On the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we as currency, we're being transformed from the hand or out of the hull, or out of the ship into being commerce, a banking. Think about the word bank again. All right. Money goes into the bank, right?
Yes, it
Yep.
does.
And what is it called? Currency, right?
Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
is.
So what does currency has to do with something? What is that?
Current. Uh, uh,
Yeah, current is what? What is current? Yeah.
I think a current like the ocean, the rivers.
The
There you
flow.
go, right. Water, that's right. The
Yeah.
water, right. Absolutely, yes. Yes. The currency, right. Right.
But
Okay.
they made money off of us as soon as we got here, we made money because
Yeah,
we were commerce.
right.
And probably
That's,
made
that's why
money
we were
on us
still
on our
making.
way here because they had already locked it in.
Correct.
Notice that while we was naked, before our ancestors came over on ships, people, they stripped them of everything. Their knowledge about whoever they were, they took their names away, they took the God that they serve away, and they gave them this God that the people went and worshiped the day that God on that cross, on that wooden cross, who he said not to worship any images and idols. The same people went today worshiping that sun God who they had sunrise service with. They don't know that because they're under the law and don't even know they're under maritime law. They're talking about they're under grace and truth through Jesus Christ. They're under a delusion because they don't know. And we, the set apart people, the true Israelites, are here to wake our people up. Wake the hell up! Wake up! All right, let's finish up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Core aspects of Maxwell's maritime admiralty law teaching, birth certificates as ship registration. Maxwell argued that a birth certificate is equivalent to a ship's certificate of manifest. Just as a ship is born from its mother, the dock, and registered, a person is born from their mother, registered with a registrar, and considered a vessel in commerce. The Bar Association. He claimed that lawyers are licensed to pass the bar, which symbolizes the sandbar separating them from the deep water. They represent you, a dead person vessel, because you are not licensed to handle your own affairs in these courts, commercial law, and currency. Because we are deemed vessels at sea, we deal with currency, currents of water. And from maritime exploration, where the British Crown and corporations, corpus bodies, control the economic and legal life of citizens. Capital letters and legal status represent a corporate entity, a dead person or vessel, rather than the living human, reinforcing the maritime commercial nature of the law.
Stop right there. Listen, whenever you're signing some papers and you have to use capital letters, look at the legal status on this. Okay? Look at the documents, that word doc again, documents, all these words, the etymology of words are very important. And we don't look at this word, like the word mortgage here. Let's look at that. Go ahead, finish reading, my brother. I'm sorry, right here. Commercial.
Mortgage and bonded.
Hmm.
Maxwell pointed out that when one buys a home, they use a mortgage. Mortgage equal mortal death and are bonded like slaves or slips of cargo in maritime commerce.
Why do you think people say when you buying a house, or you on the deed?
Yeah. Or you have to, everything comes in capitals. Your
Yes,
name
sir.
is always in capitals, which is part of the corporation.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
In essence, his teachings is that citizens have been tricked into accepting a maritime jurisdiction, treating them as cargo and limiting their standing to that of a dead man in a courtroom.
Hmm.
A byword in the context of slavery and products refers to a person, place, or thing.
Let's stop there. The scripture say that we will become a what?
A byword,
A byword, my brothers. Look at the.
a
This is
byword.
Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28. All in here, brother. It says that you should become a byword, a product, a slave, someone that don't have no identity, no purpose, no destiny, not anything. You will be considered as being dead, dead.
We don't read that far back.
Wow.
We we don't read that far back. If it ain't the Lion Testament, we don't read it.
That's why they're going to perish. See, they want to hear the pastor, the preacher, and the apostles, but they don't want to hear the prophets. There's no need to have. I'm sorry, I just got to tell it like it is. There's no need to have an apostle, pastor, teacher, whatever you want to have, evangelist, when the Most High God have already given us the prophets. The prophets is prophesying and prophesying past, present, and future tense. So you just go into these churches, listen to the same old Easter, Christmas, and all kind of lies that you've been hearing. And some of the people are waking up, my brothers, because they're leaving the brick and mortar that's out of order, and they're waking up. Some of them are going there now. They're looking at different things. They're not paying attention to that mess. He died on the cross and all that. They hear this same mildew, dilapidated sermon every year. Ain't y'all tired of that? Ain't y'all tired of listening to this foolishness? I guess some of you are not. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to start back from where I left off with number
Go
one.
ahead.
A
Go ahead.
byword in the context of slavery and products refers to a person, place, or thing that has become a widely recognized proverbial example of a specific characteristic. In this case, forced labor or tainted goods. Products of slavery are often considered a byword for exploitation, theft, and inhumanity, frequently described historically and in modern context as stolen goods.
Wow. And guess what? When we came over on the ship, we were stolen goods because they took our ancestors without their permission.
Yeah. Key aspects of bywords and slavery products. Stolen goods. Abolitionists historically referred to the products of slave labor, such as sugar, cotton, and coffee, as stolen goods, making that phrase a byword for the immorality of consuming them. Chattel. The term chattel, meaning personal property, became a byword for dehumanization, reducing a human being to the status of cattle, modern bywords. Today, certain materials or industries known for forced labor, such as cocoa, cotton, palm oil, and fast fashion, specifically cotton from certain regions have become bywords for modern day slavery and supply chain. Exploitation, byword for a company or product name, can become a byword for exploitation, meaning the brand is synonymous with human rights abuses, such as the use of child labor and cocoa farming or unethical sourcing and fashion.
Stop right there. That's why our ancestors was branded because they were considered as being property. Y'all remember that, right? Y'all do know this history tells us that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
chattel slavery.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, sir. Mhm.
All right. Uh,
In the 19th century, right? Mhm.
in the 19th century, abolitionist movement, the phrase products of slave labor was used as a byword to directly connect consumer behavior with the guilt of slave holding.
We almost do. Go ahead.
Key phrases associated with his teaching, the law of the sea governs banking. You are not a citizen, you are a product. Maritime law rules the world. Commerce, the law of the sea. Yes, enslaved people on transatlantic slave ships were often stripped completely naked, shackled, and kept in that state while packed into the cargo holds. This was a deliberate, dehumanizing tactic to destroy their sense of pride and identity. They remained naked in filthy, cramped, and often wet conditions for weeks or months. Forced nakedness and examinations. Captives were stripped upon boarding as part of a brutal examination process to determine if they were prime laborers. Dehumanization. Captains and crew used complete nudity as a way to humiliate, scroll up, the captives and strip them of their cultural identity. Security control. Stripping them of all clothing and belongings was a method used to prevent the hiding of weapons or items for suicide. Extreme conditions. While some, like women or children, might have sometimes received minimal clothing, most captives were kept in the dark and dangerous lower decks without clothes, often in their own waste and in extreme heat. Health and death. The lack of clothes, combined with poor sanitation and extreme conditions, led to massive disease outbreaks and death, as captives were exposed to the elements without protection. Upon docking in the Americas, enslaved people from transatlantic ships were often bathed, oiled, and sometimes fed to hide the physical ravages of the Middle Passage to secure a better price. They were then sold in brutal auctions or scrambles, separated from remaining family and forced into lifetime labor on plantations. Key details about what happened when they docked. Physical preparation. Traders tried to hide scurvy, flux, or broken limbs by feeding and cleaning them to increase their sale value. The sales process. Auctions were common, but scrambles also occurred where buyers paid a fixed price and rushed onto a ship to grab as many captives as possible. Separation. Families, people from the same village, or those who made the journey together were deliberately separated to hinder potential rebellions. Initial reception. Survivors were often placed in pens, barracoons, or workshops in ports like Mobile, Jamaica, or Bridgetown before moved to plantations. Medical inspection. Some were inspected by doctors for diseases, and those considered damaged were often sold for less or sold as a refuse lot. Exceptions. Captured ships. If the ship was captured by the British Royal Navy after the abolition of the trade, captives were usually taken to places like Sierra Leone to be freed, though they still face immense hardship. Note, in the case of illegal slaving like the Clotilda in 1860, survivors were hidden, sold, and some were forced into long-term servitude in Alabama.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
This is something here, people. We're faced with some very dangerous situation that's coming up before us on this time, and so um, we're faced with other horrendous things that's about to happen. But only the remnant will be delivered. I want to thank those that came on today, that are on. Thank you so much for being able to support us. I want to also thank those our Hebrew brothers, sisters, and some of our Christian brothers who we love. That it's time to wake up. Uh, we're nothing but commodities. We're nothing but commerce. But to the Most High God, we are a chosen priesthood, a royal priesthood. We are set apart people, holy unto a righteous God. We are the apple of his eye. We are somebody, we're special people. But some of our people don't know that because they're still blinded by religiosity. So we are praying to the Most High God that they will be delivered and set free from the idolatry that they committed on the day, and will continue to worship Christmas, Easter, and birthdays and all kind of the holidays and stuff because they're pagan. You're just pagan. You're pagan. You're pagan. You're pagan. All of us got some paganism, including myself. All of us are not free. We all messed up, jacked up, tore up on the floor, messed up. But we are waking to truth. And it's not a man that died for your sins, because no one can die for your sins. You have to die for your own sin. No one is going to go to the Shemayim. You're not going to go to heaven. You're going to go to hell. Look that word up. Look up the etymology of the word hell. It doesn't mean with fire and burning as Christendom and Catholicism, catechism, and I have lied to you to scare you, to keep you in that trap. It's not so. Everybody's going to go to hell. Hell is just the grave. That's all it means. There's no lake of fire. Okay? All those books from the 21 Council of the Nicaeans to the canonical teachings of the bishops and those different people that came together to take the other books out. Only thing y'all know is 66 books. People, you better get your head from behind your reel and start seeking wisdom. She's the principal thing. And I'm your host, C.B. Johns, and we are a voice that's in the diaspora. We're crying out to you, and we will not deviate from the truth. We will continue to say what the Most High God has said to his prophets, and we're echoing what the prophet said, not by might, not by power, but by the spirit of the resurrecting power of the Most High God, who we look to come back to deliver us from out of this time of maritime and time laws, and go and be with him in his presence with King Daewin, our prophet, I'm sorry, our king, prince, and our shepherd. And there's nobody else. He's a jealous God. He doesn't have a God by the name of Yahweh Shai or Yahushua. His name is Yahuwah, Yah, Yod, Aleph, Hey. That's who he is. All right. Thank you all for coming on. I won't see you. We'll be out desert. We'll be going out of town, leaving. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be back with part 2. I want to thank you all once again for coming on. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh HaKad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Shalom.
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 Shalom.